Today on Investigate TV Plus, we uncover medical malpractice in the U.S. military.
His heart stopped and he had coded on the table during the surgery.
And what some call a lack of transparency.
Our investigation reveals a secretive system that shields problematic doctors and nurses.
You're doing these stories to let everyone know the truth, and the DoD is fighting you from letting you know the truth. Why are they hiding it? Why are they hiding it? Because it's bad.
Plus, serious mental health symptoms showing up in young athletes.
I was always more worried about he was going to get tackled wrong and get paralyzed.
An in-depth look at how repeated hits to the head can play a role in one family's effort to save lives. And roller disco fever, how a small skate session in a garage exploded into a weekly community party.
It's brought so many people together, and I have a skate family now.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Should doctors and nurses who treat our U.S. military face the same accountability as civilian healthcare professionals? I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Our years-long investigation found many times that isn't the case, even when it comes to serious or deadly mistakes.
Investigative reporter Josie Sturman uncovers misconduct and malpractice hidden from the public and paid for with your tax dollars.
Moving them legs, he loved moving them legs.
As a baby, Zamari Reese was a force of nature in his military family.
And then 12 days after his first birthday, that's when everything turned the corner.
That's when court records say he went to Walter Reed Medical Center. Zamari was supposed to get ear tubes, a procedure hundreds of thousands of kids have each year, and have his adenoids removed, another common surgery for children. It was all supposed to be quick and simple. It wasn't.
This was him the morning of his surgery, and this is how they returned him to me.
A lawsuit filed by the family against the government says Zamari came out of surgery suffering a permanent brain injury caused by a lack of oxygen after military doctors carried on even as he struggled to breathe and his heart failed. The suit claims his parents weren't specifically warned that Zamari, who has sickle cell and reactive airway disease, was at greater risk for complications or even death.
The sad part about this case is this procedure could have been stopped at any moment with no harm to this child.
Zamari, now 8 years old, is wheelchair-bound and requires round-the-clock care from his mother, with a judge awarding the family millions to cover the cost.
No amount of money will replace what they took from my child.
Our national investigative team analyzed the numbers from an annual report made to Congress. Since September of 2009, we found nearly 1,500 medical malpractice claims solely from the military system have cost taxpayers almost $1 billion.
That tells me there's a very significant problem with military medicine that needs to be looked at and addressed.
That annual report to Congress doesn't name names. In the civilian world, though, malpractice judgments are often included in a doctor's profile on state medical board websites anyone can access. But that's not often the case for many military providers.
Right now, the secrecy isn't really helping anyone except for people who are bad actors.
Steve Ellis, a Coast Guard veteran, runs Taxpayers for Common Sense, a government watchdog group. He says the malpractice spending raises big questions Congress should be asking about military health care quality and transparency.
And the government should be putting this information out already. It's embarrassing.
Since May 2022, we've filed 9 Freedom of Information Act requests with the Defense Department and Defense Health Agency, as well as the individual branches of service, asking for malpractice and discipline information. Our requests have been repeatedly denied.
You're doing these stories to let everyone know the truth, and the DoD is fighting you from letting you know the truth. Why are they hiding it? Why are they hiding it? Because it's bad.
After the threat of potential action from our legal team, we were finally given data never before seen by the public. It shows that between 2018 and 2022, there have been at least 478 military medical providers reported by the Department of Defense to something called the National Practitioner Data Bank. That's a confidential government repository that houses disciplinary records and malpractice judgments against healthcare professionals across the country. It includes cases involving misconduct and mistakes, even injuries and deaths. But service members and members of the public can't see who's in there.
Does that need to change? Sure it does. You know, I mean, one more thing that the DOD should do, but they don't need a law to do that. They could do it on their own. They could just provide this information.
Our information requests asked for the names of military providers reported by the Defense Health Agency. We didn't get them, but we're continuing to fight. The agency wouldn't do an interview and did little more than cite federal code when asked why discipline involving problem military providers is kept secret from the service members they treat.
My husband put those boots on before my son's injury, and he continued to put those boots on after.
Although her husband has ended his service to his country, Tamika Harris-Reese is soldiering on with the task of caring for their son, Zamari Reese, another casualty of military malpractice.
After digging through the data never before seen by the public, we found at least 160 providers were suspended for 30 days or more. We also identified nearly 200 cases where providers had action taken against their privileges to practice, and more than 250 cases where a peer review panel found military providers failed to meet the basic standard of care. None of the doctors involved in the Reese case have any disciplinary action listed in their state medical board records. Our investigative team also shared our basic findings with congressional lawmakers, some veterans themselves, who have been vocal about the care given to service members. They did not respond.
Still ahead on Investigate TV Plus, it's a diagnosis that affects millions of Americans. What we're learning about heart disease and its effects on mental health.
Plus, some student athletes could also be at risk of developing serious mental health issues.
It was night and day. It was like, what just happened?
An in-depth look at how repeated hits to the head can have unseen consequences and how it forever changed one family.
We want to start with a warning. This next story contains graphic descriptions of suicide. If you or someone you know is struggling, you can call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline anytime at 988.
A disease once thought to only show up in professional sports is now being diagnosed in high school athletes.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, is a brain disorder caused by repeated head injuries or concussions.
Along with memory loss and trouble thinking, it can cause serious mental health issues, from depression to suicidal thoughts or behavior.
As researchers work to understand CTE, they're finding its symptoms showing up in children just after 1 or 2 concussions.
In his last video, a high school football player said repeated hits to the head caused his mental health issues.
5 years after his death, reporter Angie Racono sits down with his parents, and again, a warning: this story has graphic descriptions of suicide.
It'll be 3rd down and 11.
We're going to become a skills player.
He was fun to watch.
Bramwell wide open and
He was so good, he was looking at playing college football.
throwing. Bramwell with the catch.
He loved the sport.
3 touchdown catches tonight for Wyatt Bramwell.
Wyatt was one of those that was just automatic.
The senior wideout, number 4 for the Roosters. And it's now 24-6, Pleasant Hill.
Just made us proud.
Wyatt Bramwell loved football. He started with flag football in kindergarten, tackling by the 3rd grade. Wyatt played varsity for Pleasant Hill High School all 4 years.
I was always more worried about he was going to get tackled wrong and get paralyzed.
The family was aware of CTE in the pros and realized the closer you play to the ball, the more hits you take. Wyatt played outside as a receiver. His dad coached a few years.
We're going to become a hands guy. We're going to become a finesse. Didn't make a difference. Still ends up positive CTE, still ends up with a tragedy.
In hindsight, everything becomes clear. His parents talk about a 60-day spiral for Wyatt.
It was night and day. It was like, what? In fact, I remember us looking at each other like, what just happened?
Wyatt was angry. He left home. He was impulsive. Wyatt was clearly searching for answers. His Google history showed he was researching. He talks about it in a video.
Hello. So what this is me explaining what's wrong with me. I've been depressed for a long time. My head is pretty messed up and damaged. The voices and demons in my head just started to take over everything I wanted to do. I took a lot of hits through football. Took a lot of concussions. And a lot of times I never told anybody about how I was feeling in my head after a hit. You know, I just kind of kept playing. Dad, I know you're capable of doing this, and I want you to do it. After my funeral, which will be an open casket, I want my brain donated to be studied. I feel like it'll be closure for me, and it'll be closure for you guys to know that maybe Wyatt suffered from brain damage. Maybe that was the reason.
He shot himself in the chest. We believe that that was probably him preserving his brain for an accurate autopsy.
His parents honored that request, donating his brain to Boston University. Wyatt was part of a study of 152 contact sports athletes who died younger than 30. 63 of them, or 41.4%, had CTE. The report's conclusion: young contact sport athletes may be at risk for long-term neuropathologic disorders, including chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Wyatt, at age 18, who never even played college ball, was stage 2 CTE.
How do you miss this with your kid?
There are 4 stages of CTE, and in stage 2, patients like Wyatt often have headaches, concentration problems, depression, short-term memory loss, and explosive moods.
At the end of the day, it doesn't seem to be about the number of diagnosed concussions, although that's certainly important. It seems to be more about how many times they're just hitting their head repetitively. Kind of the gray matter and the white matter.
Dr. Michael Rippey is a sports neurologist. He never treated Wyatt. He's on the sidelines for KU, keeping a close eye on players for concussions. His take is that youth football can learn from this study, and more study is needed.
I think one of the discussions is, do we change play? U.S. Soccer has already said we're taking heading out of the game until they're age 14. There's been a push for, do we say no tackling in football till a certain age?
And that's something the Bramwells agree with. Make football safer.
I don't vilify or blame the sport.
I've been asked, would you do it all over again? Would you let your kid play? I wouldn't want to take those memories away from me.
Opening up about Wyatt to help other young athletes and their families.
Another report reveals mental health issues in student athletes could begin after just one hit to the head. A study published in the Journal of Athletic Training examined the mental health reports of more than 20,000 students who play youth sports. Researchers found students who reported at least one concussion in the last year were at greater odds of developing depression than students without concussions. Even more concerning, the report says concussed students were far more likely to engage in suicidal ideation, planning, and attempts. Researchers concluded by saying doctors should closely monitor mental health symptoms in children with recent repetitive concussions.
And again, if you or someone you know is struggling, you can call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline anytime at 988. Still ahead on Investigate TV Plus, we continue our reporting on mental health. Doctors are now learning even something like heart disease could be a risk factor.
You just feel sometimes very depressed.
We examine the link between your heart and your brain's health. Every 34 seconds, an American dies from heart disease. The American Heart Association says it's been the #1 killer in the U.S. for decades, yet only half of Americans recognize it as such. You may know it by its physical symptoms like chest pain, fatigue, or an irregular heartbeat.
But new research shows that many people with heart disease also develop mental health conditions.
Reporter Lauren Lowry examines the effects heart disease can have on our minds.
Hi there, say hi.
Vicki Shepard is very aware of how her heart health impacts her physically.
I used to walk my dog, all around the neighborhood. Now I'm lucky if I can get up a block.
But after being diagnosed with heart failure, she also recognizes the impact her heart health has on her mental health.
You just feel sometimes very depressed.
And she's not alone. In fact, a recent analysis of more than 100 studies found 1 in 3 people with heart disease struggles with their mental health.
You're fearful. Is it going to happen again? Can you get through a day? What is the impact on my work? Are people going to think different about me?
One thing I see pretty frequently is people just having fear or anxiety about doing things they previously did.
Cardiologist Catherine Lindley says it's why they've added extra support for patients.
So I really advocate for patients to receive mental health counseling to help them sort of get through this challenging time.
Shepherd has her own support system in place.
Talking to a loved one is critical.
And believes a positive mindset can make a huge difference.
I was told I had 2 to 5 years to live. I just passed 7 years. So for me, it's eating right, exercising, and living with purpose. And that is what helps me through my struggle.
Dr. Lindley says exercise can be one of the best ways to improve both cardiac and mental health. She recommends patients talk to their doctor about cardiac rehab. In Nashville, I'm Lauren Lowry.
Still ahead, whether it's the nostalgia.
You remember that muscle movement from when you were a kid, and it just flows from there.
Or the rush of gliding for the first time. How a secret roller disco is bringing skaters together.
I'm Viv Williams with a medical myth moment. Remember back in high school when stress over a test or asking somebody to prom resulted in a big fat pimple erupting on your face? Well, stress likely didn't cause the blemish itself. That's a myth. But stress could make acne you already have worse. You see, according to an article on the American Academy of Dermatology Association's website, stress revs up your immune system, causing inflammation that affects many areas of your body, including your skin. So if oil and bacteria on your skin have produced pimples, stress may exacerbate the situation. Dr. Warren Heyman, who wrote that article, says since stress aggravates acne, reducing your stress levels may help treat it. With a medical mythbuster moment, I'm Viv Williams.
According to Nielsen, the 2024 Super Bowl halftime show set a massive record. It averaged more than 120 million viewers on TV alone, making it the largest audience for a single network telecast to date.
During his set, Usher and his backup dancers turned the 360-degree stage into a roller disco, a tribute to the R&B star's love of skating. The performance quite literally put roller rink culture on America's center stage.
Yeah, the culture is alive and well in Portland, Oregon, if you know where to look.
Reporter Bonnie Silkman takes us to the city's secret roller disco.
If you hear that funky music, see the colorful lights, and spot those retro wheels, you may have uncovered Portland's least best-kept secret. Welcome to the Rose City's secret roller disco.
You remember that muscle movement from when you were a kid, and it just flows from there.
When you look around, everything here is so perfectly Portland and joyous. It's like the best part of the city.
Every Thursday night, you'll find sometimes hundreds of Portlanders spinning and gliding on a makeshift roller rink somewhere in the city. Maybe a parking lot, an empty warehouse, or a basketball court.
And tonight's theme is pink, or it's Disco Barbie.
The theme and the meetup spot is a secret, mysteriously changing every week. But the light-up wheels, the high fashion, and the throwback moves stay the same.
This skate community has lifted so much of us out of the slump and depression that we faced over the last couple of years. And it's brought so many people together, and I have a skate family now.
And Vanessa Miali's roller fam is growing fast.
We started up on a parking garage Yep. And we had some friends come, and then Instagram found out, and now we have 11,000 followers.
Francesca and April call themselves the accidental co-founders of Secret Roller Disco.
We love Portland, and we just like to bring joy to different places.
The duo says obtaining permits and finding places to roll is a big challenge. They also bring in a roller skate rental truck, photo booths, food vendors, and a DJ.
We've invested a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and money into this free event.
2 words to describe tonight would be freedom and acceptance.
What do you guys think? This is the only move I have. Whether you're a beginner skater like me, or if you've been doing it for years, this really is a community event for everyone.
This pandemic hobby and popular pastime is transforming into a roller skate revival.
How old are you, Ava?
4. I like to skate.
Embracing all ages, all skills, and all wheels.
Join in, be a weirdo. Come skate, it's cool.
The Secret Roller Disco's Instagram account has grown to about 33,000 followers. So cool. You know, when I was a kid, my dad put down this concrete slab.
Yeah.
It was to drive the cars on, but I could roller skate on it, so I felt
You pretty
special.
good? So you could go out there?
I can stay up
Is it like
for
riding a
most
bike?
of the time.
Yeah.
No, it's harder than a bike, in my opinion.
I'd be boom.
On the ground.
On the ground. I'll go watch. That's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. Next time on Investigate TV Plus, a mother who lost her son in a car wreck.
My son would be 28.
Says a simple piece of tech could have saved his life.
I just feel like, dang, if we would have just had that, you know?
We investigate the effort to install new seatbelt reminders in cars across the country.